Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigilant Network show. My name is Emma Vigilant, and you know what it is. It's ESVN OT, baby. OT. We are in NFL season, so it's time for Bradley and I to make stupid selections for picks against the spread and prove how the sports books have our number. Hello, Bradley. And we're not even putting any money on this. We're just having some fun. How are you, buddy?
It's definitely fun. It's definitely been fun, you guys.
They're eating the dogs.
They're eating the dogs.
They're eating the cats.
Who live there?
That's what we're gonna be saying when the Panthers lose this weekend. They're eating the cats.
I guess is there a dog? I guess isn't technically the Browns mascot a dog?
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe some of us have picks that could
reflect that.
We can incorporate that soundbite into it, which would be amazing because that Donald Trump bite has been sustaining me for the past 48 hours of how freaking funny that was. Oh my God, Trump completely falling apart at the debate. But we also have NFL season. We talked about and recapped week one on Monday. And, we didn't really get into the Tyreek Hill stuff. I think we'll probably talk about that more on Monday when we have more time. But let's just get into locks, and then we'll save all the good stuff for our longer episode.
Yeah, and also, I was saying to Emma, we are. This is our third day doing two shows this week, so I think we're also.
And let me just say,
somewhat spread thin.
My best friend in the whole world had a baby. I think late July, so a month and a half ago. And I went and stayed with her last night because her husband had to go away, and it was, because she needs some help. But babies cry. I'm tired. We got the debate covered, so this is what you're getting today, folks.
Yeah, we're on a timer here.
But the baby was freaking cute as hell, so that was fun.
That's the nice
My
thing.
soul is nourished, but I'm exhausted.
The nice thing is you can get that soul nourishment. Unfortunately, it's not your child, so then you can leave.
Oh yeah, right. It's like I'm basically like an aunt.
Yes, like you get the uncle and aunt. You get uncle/aunt.
I might be. I mean, she might. I gotta nail her down on this. Like, is she gonna? She better make him call me auntie.
That's right.
I mean, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want in life.
That's your mission. Regardless.
I mean, I'm at that level. I'm at that level. So if it's honestly a sign of disrespect if you don't do it. Girlfriend. But anyway, she hates sports, not watching this.
Right. Religious viewer watches the show.
I'm just putting this out into the universe. Anyway, with that said, we're keeping it short and sweet.
All right, here we go.
Boom.
ESVN Stone Cold Lock of the Century. All week.
That's the
Dan from the internet, my friend.
Those flames represent my success this week.
Oh yeah,
and how my success went up in said flames.
Let's put up our results on the screen here, folks. Both Bradley and I didn't do so hot. And isn't this like we had losing records last year too? I feel like this is how it's gonna go. And should be a lesson to people. The spreads are fickle, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Okay, like. The thing that I'm mad about for you, honestly, and going 0-3, and we should say the one I got is that the Jaguars covered by half a point against the Dolphins. But my thinking was right about that until they shit the bed at the end. They were beating them most of the game until that Travis Etienne fumble.
It was actually it was literally just the
fumble into the end zone.
The Jaguars' inability to, finish what they start.
Which is seemingly a thing for the Jaguars, but you'll see I did pick them again this week, so I don't know. We'll see. I just feel like they're finally going to put it together, but, I have week one up there. Here, I'm going to go adjust this literally on the fly. You can see.
Oh, shit.
Let's do it. I'm going to do it on the fly because
we'll do it live!
Wrong. It's week 2, folks. Did it change?
Do I have to? Hold on. Maybe I have to refresh it. Give me one second.
All right. Well, in the meantime, So basically, last week, the only one of the 6 that we selected that I covered was the Jaguars plus 3.5 at Miami. The Giants got shellacked by the Minnesota Vikings. I ate crow on that on Monday. The Jets also it looked like it was going to be much closer, and then the 49ers just kept pulling away. The Jets need Hassan Reddick, and he's seemingly okay with taking millions of dollars in fines right now. So they have.
Well, yes, as you're saying, I think he is feeling inclined and almost like maybe emboldened to continue to do this despite it affecting his pocketbook. But
they do have leverage. He does have leverage.
But now, seeing obviously kind of how anemic the pass rush was this week, you would think if I were Joe Douglas, and I'm not obviously, but I would maybe think, hey, let's stop dicking around with this guy and just pay him what he wants so we can actually get some heat on a quarterback. Brock Purdy, despite some of the lack of success in the red zone for San Francisco, like that game could have been more of a blowout if Brandon Ayuk had not dropped that touchdown pass, for example.
Right.
If there weren't that many penalties on they settled for, if I'm not mistaken, 6 Jake Moody field goals, something like that. He got a ton of work that game.
Yeah.
If they had converted a few more of those to touchdowns, I mean, the game would have been like a 52-19 type game, not 32.
It was much like the first quarter and a half. I actually thought that the Jets might win that game. But it
Right,
just
the first few drives with the Rodgers actually looked kind of encouraging. But
yeah.
then,
And the other thing that you notice is Rodgers when he does like the finger hands or like first down or
yep,
whatever.
Yep.
He has like the biggest hands I've ever seen.
Yeah,
on
he's
a
got big
quarterback.
hands, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because he's such a talented thrower, and that's the kind of thing. Like,
And maybe why he can get it out so fast. It just kind of like it just flicks out.
It's just his fingers are really long,
Yeah.
and it's almost like he almost looks like an alien, right? When you see his hands. So this is not a Trumpian comment on Aaron Rodgers.
You know
but
what that means.
He looked okay, and when the ball comes out of those big hands, it looks so pretty. So hopefully they can get it together.
But all that is to say, I agree with you that I just think like if I'm them, I would just say let's just get this done so our pass so we don't have another week where a quarterback like Brock Purdy, not to diminish Brock Purdy, I just mean like he barely got pressured.
Right.
Like there was very little resistance to him kind of just throwing at will.
Exactly.
And if a few more receivers and a few more receivers make catches and there are less passes, they just would have gotten 3 more touchdowns probably. So
yeah. So anyway, last week I went 1-2. The only one I covered on was the Jags. The Giants, the Jets did not cover the spread. And then Bradley, you had like the right idea in every situation, but it just broke the wrong way. Like the Baltimore Ravens +3. If Isaiah Likely's foot was just 1 inch closer in bounds, you would have covered that spread.
you should have seen me when the score was 27-26 and then it literally got ticked down back to 27-20. I was like, God damn it. Are you fucking kidding me?
You were, I mean, and honestly, that was like Lamar got criticism for the end of that drive, but he was the only reason that they were that close at all. Lamar was playing hero ball in that game.
For sure.
The Packers in Brazil, you had them +2, and honestly, I like for most of the game, it looked like the Packers were maybe going to win because the Eagles started off so horribly with Jalen Hurts turning the ball over and things like that, but Jordan Love got hurt. It looked like he was slipping. He may have gotten hurt earlier than it even appeared. And then we have the Rams +4.5 in Detroit. This one is the one I feel the worst for you about because literally it went to overtime and it was as close as you thought it would be. But then it has that weird rule where if they score a touchdown on the opening drive, or it's like actually if you score a touchdown at all, that's what ends overtime. So at least in the regular season. So Bradley went 0-3 and I went 1-2. Now this week
we don't have to discuss it.
we don't have to discuss it. We don't have to discuss it. They're eating the dogs. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars eating the dogs. We'll get to that in a sec. So I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens with the Las Vegas Raiders visiting the Baltimore Ravens -8.5. It's the biggest spread of the week. But to be honest, I saw that the DraftKings line started at 9.5, and the fact that it's going down, just to me, it's like, what are we doing here? The Ravens are going to be angry. They're coming off a longer week because they played on Thursday night against the Chiefs. The Ravens are the more talented team. They're pissed that they lost that game. They're going to beat up on the Raiders. And the Raiders really struggled at the end of last game against the Chargers against the run, where J.K. Dobbins looked like he was Baltimore Ravens J.K. Dobbins from a few years ago, and he just ripped off a bunch of runs. So, obviously they have Max Crosby. Obviously, they have their new free agent addition in Christian Wilkins, but they still have holes on their defense because, Tyree Wilson top pick for them, who looked really talented, still has been unable to come on the field. Like, they've blown so many defensive draft picks, and it's just not enough to have those two guys kind of carrying things for them.
Yeah, and I think the defense is most likely like still pretty well coached because it's a Patrick Graham unit.
Yeah.
But I think the personnel outside of Wilkins and Crosby is still pretty inconsistent. Like it's not the kind of like I would say super defined unit. And I just also think, to your point, that the Ravens offense, I think, will just have, outside of Crosby obviously getting home in some respects, but I also just think getting blitzed or getting heavy pressure sometimes almost helps Lamar because he can just kind of drift out or kind of a break contain and then go rush. So there's that element, and then I also think, as you're saying, holistically, even if outside of like Chris Jones and a few others, maybe there isn't a guy necessarily on that defensive line that's as on the Chiefs defensive line as like it snap in, snap out and impactful as Max Crosby. The Chiefs defense itself is just, I would say, just comprehensively a much better in terms of talent, but also in terms of discipline type unit.
Yeah.
So I think the Ravens could certainly capitalize on the spine of the Raiders defense as well as the secondary.
I mean, Derrick Henry is gonna, if J.K. Dobbins is bullying them at the end of the game,
right.
Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter
because that's
bully them.
because that's an even different profile because of not only Henry's density but his height too.
Yep.
Because it's not just because Dobbins is I don't think is as tall as Henry. I think he's strong.
Yeah.
But Henry is just like, even with what we saw last week, he can still just run through guys.
Totally. So you have Miami on Thursday Night Football -2.5.
I do.
They're gonna win by a field goal.
I do. I think this will be interesting. As one, I'm comfortable picking this as much as I have my skepticism about the Dolphins because we always, I think, feel as if at some point the offense gets a little bit stale after some of the more revolutionary stuff from Mike McDaniel's brain hits the field.
Yeah.
For the first few weeks, it's pretty innovative and pretty remarkable. But then, obviously, once teams get more tape on it, they're able to kind of find their counters.
I feel that's more about Tua's inability to be a more multidimensional quarterback.
Oh, so I think there would probably.
But I agree with you.
There would be more counter to those counters with, I think, a more athletic quarterback,
yes.
or with, you know what I mean. But I think But I think also it kind of goes hand in hand in the sense that McDaniel's ingenuity has a ceiling as well, I think, for the personnel that he has.
Yeah.
But with Devon Achane, healthy again, he was already had some incredible, looking runs last week. Tyreek Hill had the 80-yard touchdown pass even after what he experienced before the game. And honestly, on the other side of the ball, I liked what Anthony Weaver so far, who came over from the Ravens, did for the Dolphins defense. I feel like the linebackers, we were talking about, Javon Holland, but also Jerome Baker, Jordan Brooks. Like, I like some of the stuff they were doing schematically, and I also just think they're kind of playing more like cerebral / kind of like heads up football on defense. It doesn't seem as passive as the Vic Fangio defense did last year. So I just like overall like how the Dolphins look, and it's not even necessarily an insult to the Bills. I just think.
Well, the Bills' defense was concerning.
And that's the thing, though, is I think the Bills' defense is relying on more defined variables, meaning like Von Miller being Von Miller at this age, hoping for a few steps up from other guys like Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, etc. And obviously, as we've been talking about for ad nauseum, the loss of so many like pivotal spine guys, pivotal kind of like green dot players for them.
Yeah.
Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer,
Rousseau,
Micah Hyde.
Yeah, he flashed, but the problem is like
it's not down in, down out.
Like the Cardinals beat themselves in that game
100%,
more than the Bills beat them. And then on offense, it was the same old story of Josh Allen having to carry the entire offense. So,
right. And so that's sort of why I think it'll be close, but I could see the Dolphins, if we get a few real chunk plays from Hill and Waddle, as well as kind of a solid defensive performance, I think they could take it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think it's a coin flip, but I think you make a persuasive argument about it. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going down this road again. I just think they're really talented, and I don't understand why they can't finish. And I think that the Browns are really talented, but they're more dysfunctional right now. Deshaun Watson was just sued for another extremely disturbing allegation.
And he's already
involving penetration forcibly. God, that guy's I don't want to see him on my screen ever again. And disgusting.
And it's already kind of going to a place where the NFL is seemingly reviewing it, and even the woman in question, who has accused Watson, wants to be interviewed by the NFL, and even her attorney, Tony Busby, who levied a lot of the original cases and allegations against Watson, says that there might be some documentary evidence as well. Obviously, this will take a lot of time to play out, but again, regardless of any of that, what we and Emma, I mean, I've obviously been saying about this the entire time is that you sunk so much cost into this for this to still, even amidst what you thought might have been the clear of these allegations, it's not the case. There's more, and they're active, and they're being investigated and arbitrated again. Was it ever going to be worth this to them?
It's astounding to me that they thought that this. I mean, like, again, the fact that the Browns, the fact that you even had to give him that guarantee, that fully guaranteed contract, which was unprecedented in the history of the NFL, to get him to come to Cleveland, because he was eyeing. People forget why did the Tua and Flores relationship sour? Because Stephen Ross, the owner, and Brian Flores wanted Deshaun Watson. Again, this was even before the allegations as well. And then he was also being courted by Atlanta. Like, there were a bunch of other teams that were interested in Deshaun Watson, but he went to the place that got him the most money. Why? Because he's being sued for a bunch of money and he needs to be able to pay it back. And so now he's just phoning it in, pretending like, I mean, honestly, he looks so miserable out there. He looks like he's not engaged at all. And that's the kind of cancer that just spreads throughout a locker room. And I know that the Browns are talented, and Kevin Stefanski deserves a lot of credit for keeping the team together despite all of this. So, I mean, I just think that kind of loss against the Dallas Cowboys, on top of the allegations against Deshaun Watson, it's going to be too much. And Watson played horribly. It seems like he's going to start again. And they still have those tackles that are injured. Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, they have knee injuries.
That's tough. Yeah,
they may be back in the lineup, but we don't know. And
how mobile they are potentially, just if they're playing hurt. I mean,
I liked how Travon Walker looked in that game.
No, he had a few great
Allen.
plays. Yeah, he had a few great plays. And Josh Allen, obviously, we know is actually one of the, like, better, honestly, top end, defense, edge rushers in the league now.
And the Jaguars, if I were to pick a weakness on defense, they have secondary problems, right? But Deshaun Watson can't throw the fucking football. So, like, what are we talking about here? And so, like, I just think the Jaguars are more talented, like, maybe not more talented, but they have a quarterback who is actually engaged in winning, and I think they'll be pissed at how they lost, because they had that game in hand until that fumble.
And
they'll be at home. So.
And I will say, if two plays could be emblematic of what we could see more, down in and down out for Trevor Lawrence and these pass catchers, the Brian Thomas Jr. touchdown, well, in terms of pass and route, were just freaking gorgeous plays. Yeah. I mean, Thomas runs a beautiful route, drifts right into the edge of the corner of the end zone, that Lawrence just lays it, perfectly for Thomas. And then an incredible and beautiful seam route that Christian Kirk kind of split two safeties, and then got a great throw just to get right in his kind of his extended hands away from the defender. If we can see a little bit more of that kind of queued up, as well as just like coming from Trevor Lawrence and seeing that, especially with Thomas Jr. in the fold, because he's this is his first, like, that was encouraging to see that being the first game of his NFL career. I could definitely see it, but I just, as you're saying, it's truly literally about just finishing these games.
Yep. All right, you have the Indianapolis Colts -3 at Green Bay. Love this pick, actually, by you. I'm surprised that the line is so little, with Malik Willis potentially starting for Green Bay.
That's my primary thing. It's not even as much of full-throated endorsement of the Colts, just in the sense that, obviously, I like the scheme.
Yeah, I was just thinking, we think Anthony Richardson's raw. Oh boy!
I like this. I always like Shane Steichen's scheme for the Colts offense, but obviously what we're seeing with Anthony Richardson is almost like I don't mean to anthropomorphize him or anything like that. I just more like it's almost like a.
This is affectionate.
He's like a bucking bronco, or like a pony or something like that, in the sense of, like, you see flashes of just like exactly what you think and what you believe that he can and will be, but then you see that still certain rough edges need to be sanded down, as well as certain fundamentals still need to be kind of like instilled within how he plays in game, like how he actually just sees the field in game, because you see 2 throws from him that go 63 or 65 air yards. They're the 2 of the most improbable, unbelievable throws I've ever seen watching the NFL for like 15 years. But then he dirts a check down, or he misses 2 or 3 open reads and goes to a guy who's double or triple teamed. Like, it's interesting that he has these high like bleeding edge, top tier talent type throws, but then certain stuff that's just truly just in the fabric of being a quarterback, that's lacking more than anything else.
But it looked better than it did in the preseason, I will say, for AR, and that route. First of all, Alec Pierce has been underrated since he got out of college, and it's because he's a white guy, partly. Where people are like, he can't be that fast.
But that was a perfect route for him, right?
Gorgeous.
Like that type
Gorgeous.
of deep vertical threat, just to like.
Like I don't know, like I'm not a huge Michael Pittman fan. Like I might like Alec Pierce more than Michael Pittman. I know that's crazy, but
and
like
Pierce is just solid. Like I just think he's a good reliable option. And I think with Pittman too, it's almost like you have a guy like that, you might as well extend him and give him that type of contract, as opposed to like either A, wait for him to ask for something unreasonable, or B, he just leaves for nothing or whatever. But I agree. I still am happy that they have Pierce, they have Josh Downs, like they got Adam A.D. Mitchell. Hopefully those connections can continue to deepen as the season goes on.
Right.
But the Colts defense is okay. I think there are still some missing pieces there. I just think I say all of this just to say, as much as I have some both positive and positive feelings about the Colts and some concerns, this is all coming down to Malik Willis. I'm just not trusting in any way that he is going to shepherd this offense to win an NFL game.
I mean,
nothing he's done in his NFL career has shown me that he can like win NFL games for a team.
And it's not like he's starting and it's the Titans. He's starting and he just got traded. I mean,
exactly right.
Like this is a whole
it's
new
fresh
system for him. So I agree with that selection. My final pick is I'm going to go with Tampa Bay plus 7.5 in Detroit. I just feel like that's too big of a line for a team that was really impressive with Baker Mayfield at the helm over the weekend. Like, Chris Godwin is back. I mean, he's off his ACL now it's been over a year. And last year it was just like a little bit of him getting his feet wet again. And then you have Mike Evans as like future Hall of Famer, the most humble and consistent receiver in the entire NFL. He just gets it done every single year, 1,000 yards, multiple touchdowns, like do it. I mean, it's just crazy from a fantasy perspective to have him when you see how he just doesn't fall off.
And he still had like a marvelous, contested catch touchdown.
Yeah.
Last week.
That was, and Baker threw it gorgeous.
And that was right. It was a perfect throw, like exactly for like where a guy like Mike Evans. And when I say guy like Mike Evans, I mean Mike Evans is that guy. Like that's who's gonna catch that ball.
But he can catch anything.
Totally.
And like because he's long and strong. I didn't mean to make that rhyme.
He is long and strong.
But look, the Lions I think will still win this game because I think the Lions have a top 3 roster in the NFL.
100%. And the defense I just thought is already with the personnel that they've brought in, I think already looks miles better than they did last year.
Yeah.
Like even just having a guy like Carlton Davis, like Terrion Arnold, like the fact that those guys just even beyond their play, which obviously Carlton Davis is a great player, and Terrion Arnold I think almost like to me compares well to Carlton Davis as players. Just that intensity, that like kind of tenacity, that aggressive play style is what Aaron Glenn wants. And if the offense is rolling, which I think we've seen, it's going to roll.
And this seems like this could be a shootout, by the way.
100%. Similarly,
because by the way, Antoine Winfield Jr. is injured. Like they have secondary problems. That's the thing that's probably why the line is so big, is because the Bucs have issues in the secondary. But the thing is like I think Baker can keep up. I think he can keep up to keep it close. With the personnel that they have.
I can see that.
They never the Bucs, like again with I don't love Todd Bowles' conservative coaching, but damn does he know how to coach up lines. Like the defensive line for the Bucs is always good. It's been good since the Brady times, right? Like the defensive line with Vita Vea and those guys, they're always stout. And on the offensive line, they're always stout too. And so those are the kinds of things where I like, you have a baseline set up for success there. So I think the Bucs will at least keep it close here. And I think people are still sleeping on them, and it's benefiting them.
But I was saying, as we were saying a little bit, I think before the season, with some of our preview opinions with the Bucks, like Tristan Wirfs, Pro Bowl left tackle, incredible player, one of the best in the league. Give Cody Mauch and Luka Decky another year. We have Graham Barton at center now to kind of give more of that kind of real athleticism, real kind of attitude in that role that Ryan Jensen, vacated because of injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the vibe. This is totally aesthetic, completely just body language doctor type stuff. But like, they just genuinely seem like the vibes are better there. They're just like that. Baker seems to be vibing with his receivers. He seems to have a good rapport with his offensive linemen. Like, if they can keep this going in the Liam Cohen offense, now that Dave Canales is in Carolina, can still propel them forward. I don't think they're not going to be competitive, even as you're saying. I don't think they'll win, but I still think they can maybe keep it closer, as opposed to thinking, oh, of course the Lions are going to blow them out.
Right, exactly. And your final pick, you have the Rams in the close one in Arizona.
Oh yeah, so I know
even with Puka Nacua being injured.
Well, this is me going out again and betting on the Rams, and this is mostly because as I think the Cardinals' offense, and we were discussing this before, looked awesome. I loved how Drew Petzing can just really kind of facilitate a really great run game package. Mm-hmm. And I still even thought that some of Kyler's passes were great. I thought the Michael Wilson touchdown grab was really nice. Of course, I think there's a little consternation because you have Marvin Harrison Jr. but it's been 1 week. I mean, people are trying to, I think, make so much of them being a little bit, touchy about answering questions about that, but it's literally been 1 week. Like, we can wait to extrapolate, I think, a little bit longer than that. I'm more putting this on that I still think the Rams offense, this was not an ideal situation for Matthew Stafford last weekend when both Steve Avila and Joe Noteboom went out and were having to rely on backup tackle play, and still, in spite of all of that, and even losing Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp were keeping them in this game. And I still think just because of the incredible, I know it's a lot to rely on two older guys kind of getting into the longer end of their career in Kupp and Stafford, but still, as we saw against the Lions, when these guys are at their best, they are an incredible duo.
Yes.
So I still have a lot of faith in them, even with Nacua injured and still with some of the injuries on the offensive line. I'm also saying, too, this Cardinals defense is not even the Lions defense. This is not a great unit.
Yeah.
This is a unit that I think will play hard, that I think has a few fun pieces on the line on defense, but it's not in particularly high-end talent, and they're going to have to do a lot of stuff to sort of like fasten it all together to make something even like somewhat intimidating, but that's because of how little high-end personnel they have.
Yeah,
like Dennis Gardeck, one of their linebackers, was one of the higher higher leaders in sack totals last year, despite his position and size, which is like a testament to him. And there are a few other guys who I do genuinely think are interesting and fun players, but they are not, I would say, if they were a bottom 10 defense or even bottom 5 this year, it wouldn't surprise me just based on who they're trotting out there. So I still think, even with a lot of the injuries the Rams may have, I just have more faith in them to carry out their game plan than the Cardinals. And honestly, even against that high-octane Lions offense, and given how I would say still the Rams don't have a ton of high-end personnel anyway themselves, I still thought some of those guys, Kobe Turner, Byron Young,
Jared Verse, his first game.
Braden Fisk. Like, I thought a lot of these guys looked really were looking good, well coached, and kind of up to the task. So I do still think that comprehensively, even though they're the dogs here, obviously because of the injuries, I won't count out the Rams too quickly with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So what we have is, I'm going with the Ravens -8.5 at home against the Raiders. I'm going with the Jaguars at home -3 against Cleveland. I'm going with Tampa Bay +7.5 in Detroit. Bradley has the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football -2.5 at home against the Buffalo Bills. He has the Colts -3 against the Jordan Loveless Packers in Lambeau, and then the Rams +1.5 in Arizona, which is really just a hop, skip, and a jump from LA, and also in a dome. So it's like barely playing away. So that's what we have. We shall see. Hopefully we both do better this week. Although
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully Bradley shits the bed again.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
No.
I can't possibly go 0-6, can I?
No, you
Can
can't.
I?
You can't. You can't. I can't wish such bad things upon you. That would be bad friendship.
Operative word being such.
Exactly.
It could be a lesser degree.
I want to win by a whisker.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Jaguars.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
I appreciate Matt giving us a 14-second drop
Yeah,
there.
Matt's got to trim that down a little bit.
I didn't realize that when he was just doing the shorter ones. I'm looking at the board now. He's just manually pausing it.
This is where Sam said he had the soundboard.
I know.
Where is this?
Yeah, this is
I
where-
want to get in on the fun.
We're being misled. Yeah, I mean, it is criminal that you don't have
It's
it.
criminal!
It's absolutely criminal. Stop the count!
I'm filing a complaint with
Yeah,
the National Labor Relations Board.
You heard it here first, folks.
Well, I didn't discuss it with JD. In all fairness, JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look.
Look.
That was a random one.
Anyway.
Anyway. Guys, if you're tuning into this, we do politics as our day job, so that's what we're obsessed with. But we do this for fun, and hopefully you had fun too. Rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening to this on podcasts, platforms. Like the stream. Comment below what you think about our picks. You think they're dog shit. You think we're jokes. That kind of thing. We love some good discourse. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.